So, there are two trials going on in America now. The Dzhokhar Tsarnaev trial up in Boston and James Egan Holmes. He is the shooter at the Aurora movie theater who ironically dressed up as the Joker. Okay, my question is, why do they inspire such different reactions? When it's terrorism, people absolutely freak out. But when it's just the lunatic with the gun without any religious Islamic dimension to it, it's just nothing to see here, step over the blood. Politicians wouldn't even address the issue. So, you know, Obama keeps saying we shouldn't even say the phrase Islamic terrorism. It's just all violent extremism. If it's not something different, Islamic terrorism, why is it the one thing that makes people shit their pants?
Well, first of all, I would say a lunatic with a gun is a form of terrorism.
It is.
It strikes hard in the not in the public.
But we didn't rip up the Constitution for it.
Terrorism too much, and it's coming down to it's too much jihad, too much crusade. We should talk about them as criminals. And ever since 9/11, terrorism's used, especially anything to do with a Muslim crime rampage.
I think there's a clear distinction between common criminals and terrorism. And that is why we treat these differently, Bill. By the way, I reject your premise that we don't do anything after James Holmes or after Sandy Hook. There's an attempt at gun legislation in all of these states following these kind of things, and they inevitably fail. These gun control laws in Colorado were a miserable failure. New York, Connecticut, miserable failures. But the answer is this. It's because terrorism, at least those who profess to be acting on behalf of Islam, represent some larger ideology. James Holmes represent his own crazy self.
Well, but isn't mental health something we should talk about? I mean, if this is happening, I just feel like, and you know, I think the media is in part to blame here. You know, a young man professing to be a sort of radical jihadist is media catnip in a way that had really disturbed guy with schizophrenia or maybe he's insane, as his defense would like to have him prosecuted. I mean, that's just not as quote-unquote interesting to us, even though it should be. I mean, obviously.